Well, it's me, Brian, and the show again. I talked today about Mr. Idires Shah and the Sufis, right? And what I thought my understanding of what they were was, because I've been reading another book. I found another one of Mr. Shah's books. This one is titled The Sufis. I mean, it's a really old one. It's written, I think, back in the 60s, when he was still a professor at Oxford, I think, University in England. I believe he was. But anyways, in this book that I've been reading, Mr. Shah has gone on now for a good piece of the first part, at least 50 or 60 pages, by explaining what the term Sufi really truly means, and how to explain what Sufi people are. Because Sufism is really not any sort of formal religion, right? Sufism is pretty much an individual system of belief and understanding of one's own self. Well, at least that's the way that I get it. Yeah, there's all kinds of academics and theologians and dogmatic peoples and everybody else that has tried to define what Sufism is over the course of the last 1400 years or 1800 years or so ago. But Sufism goes back even farther than that. You know what I'm saying? I mean, there were Sufi people, there were Sufi believers before there was the term Sufi. I mean, this system of ordering your thoughts, right, and your emotions, and how to deal with people at large is been around since time immemorial. I mean, since the first two guys pulled up, sat down on a rock and had a conversation. People have been trying to understand each other. And from what I'm getting from so far what I've read of Mr. Shah's book is that, according to the ancient traditions, a Sufi could be anyone. Right? A Sufi was a believer of any ordered system of belief. Christians, Sufis could be Christians, Sufis could be Muslims, Sufis could be Pakistanis, they could be white people from the West. You know what I'm saying? It could be anybody. They could be a businessman, they could be a teacher. A Sufi is someone who has a firm grasp on their self-awareness and where they fit into the greater universe. At least that's how I understand it. I mean, we're the people that are grounded in ourselves, and we live now, right now, in this second. I mean, I don't remember who said it, but one of the old Sufi masters said that the second I breathe in is the second that I live out. And that's how they were. I mean, like Rumi and I don't want to say any of their names because I know I'll say them wrong, but a lot of the old mystics, because that's what Sufism is. It's a system of mysticism for believers. I'm a firm believer, right? And I'm always grounded in now, what's going on around me. And that's what I've been trying to explain in this series, this spiritually speaking thing, the higher thinking. That's what I've been trying to explain is we're all at some certain level, right, a Sufi, or those of us that believe, those of us that know the allegorical side of life, because that's what Mr. Shah is the message that I'm getting through all of this, is that a Sufi is the person that believes in what's going on around them, right, and how it interacts and how they interact with it, where they fit in. And there's a lot of poetry by Rumi who talks about the beloved, and how you attain that certain level of enlightenment to be that way. Well, I've already spoke about stillness and understanding, and I've explained a lot of the emotions in my series already, and I just simply thought it might have been time to try to point out to the simple fact that if you're watching any of these videos, and if you have any, even just a simple understanding of what I'm saying, well then, my intrepid friend, you are on the path to becoming a Sufi, because a Sufi is just that normal person who sees life for what it really is, as it unfolds right now. You know what I'm saying? In the Christian traditions, they're always talking about the God's truth. I've explained that. That's just basic reality unfolding before your eyes. A Sufi is that person that can recognize this and can interact in real time with it and deal with it as it comes. You know what I'm saying? There's no such thing as the past. We remember the past, right, to keep grounded in who we are and where we come from. And we don't deal in the future because the future's always in motion. It's always moving. You never know what's going to happen. I mean, anything could happen in the next 10 seconds just now. You know, I mean, I used to say it like, you know, anything can happen anytime, any place, anywhere, right? And and your turn's next. That's what I used to tell people. Right? The understanding that I'm getting from this book is telling me that was what was intended. This is how their system of thought, right, brings us to this point, right? And this is what was intended by the greater universe for us, how to live our lives and to be this way, happy, and to be, you know, right, and to share, and to be, because I mean, the Sufis had not only some of the greatest mystics of all humankind, but they also had some of the greatest scientists back in the 600, 700, 800, 900s, the 1000s, right? And a lot of the Sufis, you know, masters and teachers and professors back then in those days, you know, they lived within their bounds, and that's what they're trying to teach us, because Sufism is one of those systems of thought that evolves all the time. It's always moving, it's always evolving with each individual. Once you get turned on, and once you know, right, and you have a full understanding of what you think you know, right, then from there it's time to start learning and growing. They say it's the journey, that's the experience. Well, you know what, in the Sufi thought, in the Sufi idea, it's the experience that's the journey. That's what we're supposed to be doing here, right? The gift we were given was life, right? How we experience that life is what we do with it, right? Is the way we're supposed to be and how we deal with things. That's what I'm getting from it. So, this is me brought into the shed, you know what I'm saying? Talking about Sufi traditions and how I think they apply to me in real time in my little world. Thank you.